What's up, guys? This is Zach with Top Deck Nation, and today we're going to be looking at another Guardians Rising deck, and this one is going to be featuring Magnezone as well as some lightning attackers like Raikou and Tapu Koko-GX. Now, right from the get-go, this deck is pretty nostalgic for me. If you've been with us throughout the channel, you'll know that a couple years ago when we started the channel, this was probably one of the first decks that we did. Now, obviously, it didn't feature Tapu Koko or Tapu Lele or anything, but the strategy was pretty much the same. We had Raikou, we had Pikachu EX, we had Magnezone. So if you want to see something, pretty embarrassing, you might want to check out one of our first videos. I'm sure it's pretty bad, but yeah, it's definitely something that's pretty nostalgic for me. And I think the deck is a lot better now because of a lot of cards that we have, such as Tapu Lele, Alolan Vulpix, Brigette, a lot of these cards, just to name a few. And, going by the format right now, pretty much anything is playable. I mean, I think there are like a good 20 plus decks that have done well at events lately. And, this ranges from things like your big basic hitters like Darkrai and Volcanion, all the way up to your evolutions like Tapu Bulu, and even Metagross GX has seen some play and recently placed second at a regional. So, I mean, a lot of diversity in this metagame right now. And I think Magnezone brings something to the table that we haven't really seen in a long time. If you played the card game a few years ago, you'll remember that there was a Blastoise that had a Deluge ability, and it basically said you could attach as many water energy as you wanted to per turn, and that was really good. And even a couple years before that, I think Emboar had a similar ability. But Magnezone is basically the same way. It has this ability called Magnetic Circuit, and it says as often as you like during your turn, you can attach a lightning energy from your hand to your Pokemon. So basically we can attach as many lightnings from our hand, so that's pretty nice, especially if we draw into like 3 or 4 energy. If we have something like a Fisherman to get our energy back, we can quickly power up something like Tapu Koko, which only really needs like 2 energy to get going, but also things like Raikou and Tapu Koko as well. And one of the reasons I think Magnezone is so good now is the fact that you have this really amazing turn 1 combo if you can pull it off. Basically, you just need an Ultra Ball, and you Ultra Ball for Tapu Lele, use Wonder Tag to get a supporter out. So in this case, we're probably going to be getting Brigette. And then you can go ahead and get a Magnezone, or not a Magnezone, but a Magnemite, and then maybe like a Raikou and a Alolan Vulpix. And essentially you can pull off this Alolan Vulpix turn 1 beacon, and mainly because beacon doesn't require any energy to attack. And so search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon. Okay, that's fine. So if we don't have a rare candy, we search for maybe Magneton and Tapu Lele, so that way we evolve it and get a supporter. But if you do have rare candy or Skyla or something for next turn, you can just get the Magnezone, and there you go. You're pretty much set up from there. So that's pretty much the strategy of the deck. Raikou is your primary attacker here. Shining Body says that if it has any lightning energy attached to it, then any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 20. So really strong right from the get-go. Basically, Raikou is effectively having like 140 HP in a sense, so it's pretty good. But then Thunder Lance is a very solid attack as well. It doesn't really have a damage cap. It's really just as many lightning energy as you have on it. So for 3 lightning energy, it's doing 110. For 7 lightning energy, or let's just say 6 lightning energy, it's doing 170, which should knock out most of your EXs and things like that. But we're really focusing on just kind of 2-shotting and keeping that prize trade up as well. So hopefully you kind of win by the prize exchange, because they're busy knocking out these Raikous, and eventually you're going to be winning a 2-to-1 kind of prize trade that way. But in addition to that, we also have Tapu Koko, which I think is a pretty good addition to the deck, especially if any kind of fighting decks become pretty prominent in the next couple months, like Zygarde or Regirock. Tapu Koko does not have a weakness, so that helps a ton, but this Arrow Trail ability is really good. It says that when you play the Pokemon on the bench, you can move any lightning energy on the board and then switch it. So not only can you get an attacker going in a pinch, but if Magnezone or pretty much anything gets stuck in the active, we're able to just to kind of switch it up there and hopefully get an attack off. So really strong. And Tapu Thunder GX is also one of my favorite GX attacks. 50 damage times the number of all energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. So if my opponent has 6 energy on the board, we're going to be doing 300 damage. So pretty much an instant knockout there. But that pretty much covers the Pokemon, guys. I'm running a 4-1-3 Magnezone line because I think it's really, really important to get those 2 Magnemite out the first turn, especially since Magnemite has an ability called Sparkling Induction, and it says its retreat cost is actually 1 less for each Magnemite on the bench. So if you have 1 Magnemite on the bench, Magnemite has free retreat, and that really has some synergy with getting that Vulpix going. But otherwise, that's pretty much the Pokemon line. Pretty standard, as you can see. No kind of other draw cards like Shaman or Octillery. Don't really think it needs it. The Shaman is a nice luxury card to have, but people are playing Sudowoodo to kind of limit your bench size. Shaman's definitely a liability as well. So yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty much sufficient for what we're trying to accomplish here. Now, as far as our supporters go, we're actually playing a whopping 14 supporter cards, so rarely whiffing on a supporter card, and that's really good, especially as the game progresses. But, you know, for Professor Sycamore, pretty standard card, 3N, just to get early game shuffling and drawing 6, so pretty good. 2 Lysandre, just so we can bring up things that are damaged, bring up Shamans if people are still playing those. Playing a Hex Maniac, and I know this kind of goes against the deck in some ways, but I think the Hex Maniac is needed against something like Metagross because, you know, Metagross's ability is letting it attach energies every turn, so we need to make sure that that ability is shut off when necessary. So that's why we're playing that. And then the Brigette, of course, self-explanatory, helps you get set up really well. Fisherman gets you energy out of the discard, but early game you might be asking yourself, well, how do we get these energy on the board? And the more I played it, that's the kind of problem I faced. I would always whiff the 1 or 2 energy to get the attack off, and so I've been testing Clemont in the deck, and I think it's really, really strong, especially with Tapu Lele. Search your deck for up to 4 Lightning Energy and put them in your hand. So perfect synergy with Magnezone, really explosive. And so you're able to get these 4 energy in your hand, attach them in any way you want. So maybe attach like a couple to Tapu Koko and a couple to Raikou, and you're good to go. So I really like it. You can use it a couple turns in a row, and you just get really, really set up. So I really like that card a lot. And then as far as our items go, we're not playing a ton of items just because of Garbodor. We're just playing the necessities, I think. So Ultra Ball and Verse Seeker, consistency cards, of course. 2 Super Rod because we want to recycle those energies constantly. Rescue Stretcher is an option. Maybe you could split that if you wanted to, but I think Super Rod is just better in general in this kind of deck because we need to make sure we always have those energies. And it definitely has some synergy with Clemont as well. 4 Rare Candy is pretty self-explanatory because we need to get Magnezone out as soon as possible. If you were to drop one of these, I would definitely consider adding a second Magneton because there is some synergy with Brigette. So, or with Alolan Vulpix, I should say. So you can beacon and then hopefully get like Magneton and Magnezone, and then you can have a couple Magnezones set up within a couple turns. Professor's Letter because it works with Skyla and it doubles as like 2 energy cards. So it does have some synergy there. And finally, we have Field Blower and Float Stone. So Float Stone, of course, just to retreat out. And Field Blower is basically our means to counter stadium cards. We're not really playing stadiums. I don't really think Rough Seas is too relevant anymore, at least not in this kind of deck. But Field Blower is a nice way to knock off tool cards like Float Stone, just in case you run into the Garbotux and Garbodor, as well as things like Spirit Links and Choice Bands and things like that. And then finalizing our list here, we're playing 11 energy. Now, you can play more if you want to, 12, 13 energy, whatever, but I think 11 is pretty good. We play Professor's Letter, so it's kind of acting like a 12th energy anyway, but we also have things like Super Rod, Clemont, Fisherman to make sure we get energy as well. So overall, I think the deck is pretty good. Hard to say if it's a tier 1 deck, of course, because it does require a lot of setup. It requires that Rare Candy on the second turn. If you can't get it, you might be in a little bit of trouble. But overall, it's pretty fun, and I think it definitely is a deck that's kind of under the radar. People are looking at Tapu Bulu and Vikavolt and stuff, but I think this deck could have a lot of potential as well. So let's go ahead and jump into a quick game I played on Pokemon Online, and I'll show you the deck in action. Okay, guys, so starting off, looks like my hand isn't all that bad, actually. It looks pretty good. I can Ultra Ball for the Brigette this turn and hopefully get, you know, the Alolan Vulpix and maybe a second Magnemite and a Raikou or something like that. We see a Fomantis, so this is probably some sort of Lurantis deck. I see Forest of Giant Plants, the energy attachment, of course, and we see an N. So Looks like our perfect hand is going to get wiped out here. Hopefully we get a supporter. We don't get donked or anything the following turn. But we have an Ultra Ball, so that's not too bad. I can Ultra Ball for the Tapu Lele and hopefully get the Brigette combo going. So we'll have to see how that goes, of course. And let's see what happens here. We see an Oddish and a Gloom come down, so that's kind of scary because Magnezone may or may not come out in this game because we have to make sure we get that Rare Candy Magnezone. We're only playing one Magneton, and so if they knock it out, we might be in a little bit of trouble as well. We'll have to manually attach every turn, which is just far too tedious to keep up with a lot of decks now. And so I'm looking through my deck. I've only got one Tapu Lele, so that's kind of unfortunate because I wanted to get one with the Alolan Vulpix. But I think I'll go ahead and Ultra Ball for the Tapu Lele regardless. We already have Vulpix out, and so I will Tapu Lele for the Brigette. Or I'm not even sure actually. The Brigette would be good, but if I whiff the supporter next turn, that might not be good. So I think I'm actually going to end, because at least if I end, I'll have a supporter next turn, hopefully. At least have a chance of getting a supporter anyways. So I'm going to play the end. I get a Verseeker, so that's not too bad. I also get another Magnemite, so I can get the Brigette pulled off because Magnemite now has free retreat, which is pretty good. And I can attach to Tapu Lele just as kind of like an attacker if I do get set up there. So overall, not bad. I'm going to go ahead and grab that in because if I get item locked, I would be stuck otherwise. And I'll go ahead and beacon. And so if I had the Tapu Lele, the one that wasn't prized, I could definitely have the turn 2 Magnezone here. And probably even the Clemont as well. But unfortunately, it is prized, so we'll have to kind of live with that and see how it goes from here. So he's got Fomantis, he's got Gloom, looks like we see an Acrobike. We see another Acrobike. And he discards a Grass, so that's actually good for him. And he's probably going to pull off an attack at this point. Now, Vulpix is not weak to Grass, which honestly I wish it kind of was, because now I'm going to have to retreat out probably. But I guess that's okay. He's got Vileplume, so I'm item locked, so that's really unfortunate because now I can't Rare Candy Magnezone. I had a really strong hand here, but I can't do it unfortunately. So Magneton will come down. Raikou, I can probably attach an energy to the Raikou. And honestly, I might just sit here and use Beacon because I've already got the Magnezone. I could just sit here and wait another turn. I don't really see a reason not to do that, so I might just do that. And yeah, I might just Beacon. I'm not really getting much. I mean, maybe like a second Raikou or something. Tapu Koko might be good just to kind of pull off that GX attack. But it really just comes down to him getting that Lurantis out, because I don't want to have to use the GX attack on that Fomantis. Not really worth it at that point. But I get the feeling we're going to be seeing that Lurantis coming down. I'm sure he plays 4 of them in his deck. We see a Lysandre, so kind of something to worry about. He brings up the Magneton, but no, he's just going to use Synthesis. And so this gives me a bit of an opening here. I can go ahead and take a prize card, possibly, if I can get that other energy card. So you know, it's really tempting. I think I'm going to go for it. I'm going to put down Tapu Koko. Surely, with all those energy in my deck, I can get something. So I'll go ahead and get Magnezone and just play an N. So the item lock really isn't hurting us too much right now. But looks like we whiff the Lightning Energy. We have supporters next turn, plenty of those, including that Clemont, which is awesome. But unfortunately, it's not going to be helping us right now because we don't have the energy. And so this is kind of scary because now Lurantis can at least 2-shot us. You know, it can at least damage this Tapu Koko. There's no way to really move those energies off. I guess I could Fisherman, you know, retreat the Tapu Koko and Fisherman the energy or something. But next turn, I'm probably just going to be using Clemont because I can get 4 energy out of the deck, really explosive, power up Raikou, power up whatever, really. But if he doesn't knock me out, I am pretty confident I've got a knockout because I can Clemont for the 4 energy and use the GX attack. He's got 6 energy on the board, so we're going to be hitting for 300 damage with Tapu Koko, so it's more than enough to knock this thing out and at least take a couple prize cards. And then at that point, we'll have Tapu Koko, well, not Tapu Koko, but Raikou and Tapu Lele powered up as well. So, really not as bad as you would think being under this item lock if you can get out of it early enough and just have plenty of energy to work with. So 4 energy are out, and that is why Clemont is just so strong early game. Just being able to verse Seeker for 4 energy essentially, or Tapu Lele for 4 energy essentially, just really strong. So I'm going to go ahead and get those on the board. Raikou will be a secondary attacker here. And I'll go ahead and use the GX attack because it's going to be getting an instant knockout. And it looks like off our prize cards, we get that other Tapu Lele and a Sycamore. So probably 2 of the best cards we could have asked for are off of those prize cards. So we are still item locked, so a couple cards in my hand are useless, but mostly we have a ton of supporters, and I don't know if I should end those away or just Sycamore them or what exactly, but we'll just have to see what happens here. Looks like he gets another Lurantis, but he's powered up, and oh, we see a concession. So this was a bit of a shorter game. I don't know why he really conceded here, but maybe he saw that he just couldn't keep up with the prize trade or something like that. I'm not really sure. Maybe the item lock got to him as well. But yeah, that is the deck, guys. Magnezone, it's featuring Raikou and Tapu Koko as attackers. I think it's really fun. It's one of those decks that is kind of a loose cannon. If you get the setup, it's just really, really hard to beat because of cards like Clemont and things like that. But if you whiff the setup, it's a little bit of a hassle. So you have to go ahead and get the Magnezone out, and it just kind of prolongs you from getting set up and everything. But hope you enjoy the video, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think, if there's any changes you would make heading into US Internationals. Definitely excited about that as well. But in the meantime, this has been Zach with Top Deck Nation. Like the video, subscribe if you can. I would really like it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video as always.